Na dann gucken wir mal. Gucken wir mal. Aha.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Pete'sville. Dr. Jack Hanman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious for the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Ich muss so kurz Mausempfindlichkeit. Das war ja gerade Horror. Bin ich so ein Rentner? Ja. Oh, kann man lesen drücken. Das ist praktisch.
They definitely pay me too little for this. Stephen didn't clean up after himself again. He won't be needed for the next few months. Wednesday. It's not my favorite day, although it's certainly better than Monday.
Nee, Licht an.
Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine.
Okay. Warum liegt da ein Lippenstift?
Not very comfortable, but suitable for night shifts. Okay, time to pull myself together. And get back to work.
Das glaube ich hat nicht gerade sehr appetitlich aus.
Only useful when I need to clear leaves from the gutters. But why in the bathroom? I need to set up the camera first. This place is starting to... Now remember, Jack. Don't forget, hit the record button this time.
Boah, was war das für ein Lag? Warum gehen meine FPS so weit runter?
But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow. Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Muss glaube ich ein bisschen runterdrehen.
Now, I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy. Let's start. Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something like I do all the time. In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. And lastly, remember that nothing teaches you self-narration like working with the dead. So get used to that fact soon. Everyone will think you're talking to yourself. Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we? The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers. Locally known, signs of libation were found around the body. He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that the deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged. That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves. Now it's our turn
Let's
to take
go.
some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. It's in here somewhere. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility. Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Hä? Ich kann kein Foto machen.
Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small. Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite?
Hallo? Ach Gott. Ja, da muss ich ein Foto machen.
That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain. The boiler-healed wound looks old. I'll take a closer look later. In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data.
Okay, jetzt muss ich.
Personal information. The deceased was unclothed. Date. Okay. As you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass.
Okay, ja. Aber
Which spot first? It looks like a burn mark. No doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color. I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen.
okay.
Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes. First, I marked the location of the head wound. Definitely an important clue. This is something we'll investigate first. We're not in frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be. Even though this type of wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death, we're still required to record it. If Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety of the internal organs is more important than fingers, nose, or ears. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. This is of no interest to us. Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
Shit.
We still have one thing left from the basics. Rigor mortis.
Oh, keine Spritze. Nee, auch nicht. Säge haben wir keine. Ah, scheiße. Ferierung muss ich untersuchen.
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform. Some of my previous cases, I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work.
Das brauche ich.
Well, we take
so.
our deceased by the hand. Gradually we raise it. Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct. Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw. The cut is made from ear to ear.
What the fuck?
which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull. After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good. Let's take a cross-section. Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now.
Ah, da ist das Schneidbrett.
Holding
Ach,
a
was.
long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us.
Ach komm, was muss ich denn da machen?
So far, so good.
Bäh.
The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain. We can rule the fatal accident out as well. Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit. The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall. All right, now we peel back and separate the skin.
Bäh.
Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this. Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After
Yeah.
removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice we can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation.
Okay.
What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to collect some samples. Specifically 3. From the eye, 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. But from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
Jetzt muss ich kurz aus ins Büro wieder zurück.
This whole thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime. Let's get back to the examination. We put all of the samples into the rotor. Now, we set the appropriate time and speed.
%, 15 Minuten. Prozent T.
Okay, let's roll. Oh shit, the fuses again.
Erst. Ha, da ist
Where
weggestanden.
were we? Oh yes, the blood alcohol. Let's see what we've got here.
Ich hab dich gesehen.
Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, Considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all. Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death. Size is normal, healthy, pink color, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside. We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out. We open the stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside. Okay, large amount of gas, small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents. There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck. At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray. While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen. And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing. Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then, the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Konzentration.
And now it's all clear. The death was suffocation. Now the mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end.
Så,
First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up.
så resten är inte så.
For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps.
Schließe, also.
And then, we sew the deceased back up. I'm using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do. Beautiful. Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey. tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar.
Okay, jetzt ist ein Auto auf dem Parkplatz. Ich weiß ja nicht mal, wo der Parkplatz ist.
I'll call Steven. I don't feel like trekking alone
Ah,
today.
Exit will ich mal gehen, ne? Ja, mal so eine Idee. Hallo. Hey. What the fuck? Was passiert hier? Scheiße. Was passiert hier? Chapter 1.
Forgive me. What? Christ. What a dream. Fuck. Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work.
Okay, das kann ich nicht drehen.
It's been almost a year.
Ach Gott.
It's always good to have something for a rainy day. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck, till death do us part. I wasn't able to support her through this. I really need to get this laundry done. So much light
Verschlungen war
everywhere.
durch die Bude. Aber sonst ganz okay.
An indispensable element of every office. I should really try and read a few of these.
Wollt's drehen? Okay. Wo ist das Beizimmer? Wahrscheinlich da.
A pill a day keeps the defective jack away. It's a shame these won't help with my hangover. The fucking phone. Okay. I know I'm late. I'll be there soon. It's not like the dead are impatient.
Jack, no.
Alice? Who is this?
It's Charlotte Graves.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you. I thought it was work calling.
It's okay. I hate it when work calls me at home, too. How is everything? We haven't talked since, you know.
Well, there are good days, and there are bad days. What can I say? At least I can hide away at work.
Well, you always were the most comfortable in the dissecting room. Listen, I have an unusual request.
Okay, how can I help?
It's nothing serious. I just wanted to
I'd guess. I'm not sure. I'll look through her things.
Thank you. I'm sorry to trouble you with this. All this can't be easy for you.
I'll get through it somehow. I've been meaning to sort through her stuff for a while. Have you asked Stephen if he has anything?
Yes, I spoke with him this morning. He said he gave everything to their mother and that I should ask you.
I see.
Jack, I know you're trying. That you cope somehow. Stephen's there for you. Although, well, we all know how he can be. But, I mean, if you wanted to reminisce about Alice, talk.
I really should go now. I overslept, I'm late for work, and I still have some errands to run on the way.
Oh. Okay, sure. Sorry to keep you.
I'll look for something and send it over. Thanks for the call, and bye.
Oh, do you have my address?
Not on hand. You'd best remind me again.
292 Browning Lane, apartment 432, Johnson City, New York, 13790.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Vergiss das
You
sicher.
mean a lot to me. Just miss her so much.
Yeah, me too. And that's okay. Really, no problem.
Thank you. Take care, Jack.
You too, Charlotte. It was nice to hear you. Well, that was a bit unexpected. I should probably find something to send.
So, jetzt muss ich selber ins... Oh Gott.
I'm not in the mood for music lately. They certainly have more will to live than I do. The remnants of last night's menu for today. Dinner in town and takeaway coffee. I don't think it's going to rain. Nah, I'll shower later. It's just too dirty to use.
Wo könnte das sein? Nein, da war kein Bild. Doch nicht. Alter.
They certainly have more will to live than I do. I still feel uneasy. At this time, Alice would probably be sitting here reading a book.
Ey. Irgendwo muss doch ein Foto sein.
Some days, I just feel like setting fire to all the...
Aber wo ist das?
get this laundry done. Alice didn't like this portrait. Alice didn't like this portrait.
Hm. Die hab ich alle schon angegriffen. Die auch. Das habe ich auch schon gehabt. Hä, irgendwo muss doch ein Foto rumliegen.
Menu for today.
Ja,
Dinner in
ich
town
muss
and
die-
takeaway coffee. Menu for today. Dinner in town and takeaway coffee. Alice didn't like this portrait.
Irgendwo muss ein Foto so rumliegen wahrscheinlich.
It hurts too much to look at these, but I can't throw them away. I still feel uneasy. At this time,
Ist das Bild?
Alice would probably be sitting here reading a book.
Bin ich so blind?
Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work. Till death do us part.
Da ist auch kein Bild drin. Okay, ducken kann man sich dann nicht.
I really need to get this laundry done.
Wo ist das Bild?
An indispensable element of every office. I should really try and read a few of these. Some days, I just feel like setting fire to all this paperwork. I'm fed up with it.
Schon schlimm, wenn man da reinhängt. Boah, ich google gleich, wo das ist. Kann nicht sein, dass ich das übersehe.
The remnants of last night's binge with Steven. I'm not sure if it's still edible.
Ich muss googeln. Das ist wahnsinnig. Lol.
Alice and Charlotte in Amsterdam. It's hard to believe they've known each other for so long. It would be better if Charlotte had this. It deserves to be on display and not hidden in a drawer. Okay, time to go to work. I'm seriously late. I should grab some coffee and aspirin on the way. Oh shit. These fluorescent tubes are brutal.
Dum 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 dum. Hier. Wo ist denn der Briefkasten? Hä? Ah, da. Ach Gott. Wo ist meine Nummer?
Standard correspondence consisting of bills, advertising leaflets, and pious reminders about the upcoming end of the world. Standard correspondence consisting of bills,
Hey, das ist
advertising
doch mein
leaflets,
Briefkasten.
and pious reminders about the upcoming end of the world.
Jetzt höre ich deppert. Wieder Sparnotiz. Moment. Ach Gott. So. Wirf den Brief in den Briefkasten. Ich war ja gerade. Ah, da unten. Eieiei. Aber auch bei mir unten.
I hope this helps, Charlotte. Okay. All done here. Time to go. Huh? Damn. I forgot my jacket. Well. I'll brave it for tonight. Too bad. Nice and fresh. At least it's peaceful here. Good evening, Mr. Ridley.
The timesheet handman.
Some corpses have more personality than this guy. Christ. Who leaves the window open in the middle of November? So I'd better check the answering machine.
Hi, Jack. I dropped by a little early today. I left the body with Ridley in the corridor. He wasn't sitting in the locker then, so maybe he'll even throw him into the room. Well, how are you doing? it's your first birthday without her, and this, I still have a hangover, and you know me, I run to the John like the neighbor's fucking dog. You know, today I slipped on his shit again. That fucking furball. He always has to shit next to my car. Anyway, I can't come over in the evening, but we'll catch up on the weekend, okay? Bye. I almost forgot. Charlotte called me this morning. She asked about you, so answer your calls, Jack. This time it's not a reprimand for being late.
That's par for the course. I wonder when this clown will learn to look under his feet. Birthday. I actually forgot it was today. Alice baked me muffins like these every birthday. A treat for later. I always crave something sweet after a section. Okay, joke's over. Apron, gloves, and get to work.
Oops, das war Screw. So, die hängt da, ich hab schon wieder vergessen.
Ah, man. I remember you. You were on that talent show. What was your name again? I need to order another batch of these. I've got to remember to do that later. And that's the whole point. Steven laughs at me for recording everything. He says I have a bigger collection of stuff like this than most of the creeps he's caught. November 21st, 1991. Time, 9:13 p.m. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Lecture for the Medical University of Missouri. After yesterday's lecture, you should already know the ins and outs, so today we'll be consolidating our knowledge. So, where do I start? That's right, police folder. Ah, yes, Samantha Barker. Now remember, there's probably going to be a lot of chatter about this. When questioned, friends admitted that Samantha's last days before losing contact seemed extremely happy and relaxed. She also quit drinking alcohol and mentioned something about rehab. The friend also admits that there was found in her own apartment by police patrol. Officers were called by a concerned friend of the deceased, who had been unable to contact Barker for several days. During the interrogation, a friend of the deceased admitted that Samantha never got to grips with the sudden fame that came after winning such a high-profile talent show. After her first album became a commercial success, she was hit with a creative drought. She suffered panic attacks and severe sleep problems. Drugs and medication came into play. The deceased was found in her own apartment, in a semi-recumbent position on an armchair. Large quantities of alcohol
Hat
and
sie alles
empty
reingeholt.
packets of sleeping pills were also found in the apartment. Well, let's see what settled this matter. As you can see, the body is fully clothed. Therefore, okay, now we can continue with the examination. Again, begin by taking photographs of the cadaver. I guarantee that over time it will cease being embarrassing for you. First, we photograph the whole body. And now, any suspicious-looking marks or wounds. You don't get such bruises from a normal contusion. Well, there's even more here. Interesting. Very uneven. We need to investigate this. Yes, I've seen this many times. A few we will need to look into here. Notes prepared. Time to take a closer look.
Achso, Tab war das und super, genau.
Such bruises are caused by either a very heavy blow or by some internal issues. The number of bruises suggests that there may have been some kind of tussle. Some furrows have imprinted more strongly, others less, as if someone was, undecided. And here's something interesting. The skin of the deceased is covered with numerous blisters. Some of them are ruptured, others still contain fluid residue. More numerous blisters.
Boah.
We have some leads to investigate here. Let's write this down. On the neck of the deceased, we can see clear furrows, indicating that strangulation may be the probable cause of death. Given the condition of the deceased, it's difficult to tell immediately whether the bruises were the result of a stroke. Currently, it's difficult to say whether the bruises were the result of a beating or whether it could be some kind of internal bleeding. In general, such blisters usually appear in the case of mechanical abrasions, but due to the place of occurrence, this should be excluded. The most likely cause of such skin changes is the high concentration of barbiturates in the body. Although it's easier to have abrasions on your feet, but the number and size of the blisters suggests that it's probably a matter of barbiturate poisoning. A severed spinal cord, trauma to the larynx, or trachea will verify. Examination with a UV lamp will dispel some doubts. After examining the organs, we can easily verify whether there was internal bleeding. I'll add barbiturates to the list of necessary tests, to be checked in the lab later. Given the testimony of the victim's friend, I add alcohol poisoning to the list of potential causes of Miss Barker's death. A blood test will no doubt quickly. I look carefully at the whole body. UV rays will reveal any traces. The area around right hand clean. The left hand, legs, there's nothing here. Well, nothing to surprise us here. Now gently, we take the deceased by the hand. And we check for rigor mortis. Again, the hand falls freely. After yesterday, you should know what this means. Since we don't have a definitive lead, we will examine all the key organs one by one. So, I'm starting the internal inspection. I dissect the skin of the deceased. And I proceed to deflect the skin flaps. Compared with yesterday's body, the deceased has only trace amounts of adipose tissue. Now for the ribs. What do we have here? Or rather, what don't we have? There is certainly no sign of internal bleeding. Sometimes regarding bruising, it doesn't take much. My wife was constantly banging into furniture, walking into door frames. That's a wonder she never broke anything. Before I disembowel the deceased, I will take samples for toxicological tests to determine the alcohol content in the body. All done. I'll transfer these to the centrifuge. What was it? 15, 70, 10, 75?
Schon wieder aus dem Büro.
Maybe one day I won't need my notebook. Numbers have never been my strong point. It's probably why I regularly forgot birthdays and anniversaries. I'm lucky Alice always forgave me. does it with this old thing. Handle with kid gloves.
Lol.
I'm starting the centrifuge. Let's see what results come out. A considerable collection. The laboratory is already open, so... Fucking hell! Ridley! Mr. Ridley! Where is he? The fuses need resetting. Fuck it. I'll do it myself. I swear there was a flashlight in here.
Das Licht macht mich deppert.
Whatever. I know where the switches are anyway.
War das Lager?
First the right, and then the left. And voila.
Oh, cool.
What?
Was war jetzt?
What the? Oh, for fuck's sake. Can't I work in peace? Jack Hanman speaking.
Easy, why so rude?
Steve? Sorry, man. This place is falling apart, and Ridley won't even lift a finger to help. You just can't work here.
Did the centrifuge strip the fuses again?
Yeah, eventually everything's gonna go up in smoke.
Look on the bright side. It's a free cremation with your autopsy.
Jesus, stop it. That shit pisses me off.
Okay, sorry, Jack. Anyway, I'm calling to ask how the autopsy's going. Soon there'll be journalists sniffing around for info, so we'd best be ready.
I'll whiz through this in a couple of hours. It doesn't look like a complicated case to me. More of a formality. The report will be available in the morning.
Sounds great. Thanks. Phew. How's your head?
Well, my head seems better than yours. On the way to work.
Holy fuck. Jack, turn on the radio.
What? What's happening?
Quiet.
A 3-car police convoy was involved in an accident near Pete's Bay Bridge while transporting prisoners to Orleans Parish Prison. At the moment, we do not know the exact number of victims or whether any of the convicts escaped. However, the scale of the accident indicates a large number of victims, possibly even fatal ones. Police are on their way to investigate the incident and secure the area. We know that the injured prisoners are on death row. The police were to transport them to their execution, which was to take place tomorrow morning. Many of them are very dangerous criminals. We will report on the matter on an ongoing basis, so stay tuned with us.
What? Steven, was Red Pete one of the passengers? He was, wasn't he? What if he survived?
Jack, I have to go. They want me on site.
What if he survived?
I gotta go. Talk to you later, okay?
Fuck. Calm down, Jack. Pills. I need my pills. You heard him, Jack. A serious accident. Lots of victims. He's definitely dead. Yes. Nothing's going to happen.
Ich glaube, diese Blöcken sind auch nicht so gesund.
Christ. I've got to get back to work. What?
Da hat's mich erschrocken. Kacktür.
Technical break. At least I know I can pursue a career as a janitor if I... My own but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. Fucking hell! right, let's see if we were able to get anything out of that piece of crap. And miraculously, yes. The samples did spin. I'll transfer them to the chromograph in the lab.
Ja, hvor må sige hetsyn. Og så vil jeg prøve.
Alright, let's load this up. I placed the test tubes in the rack. Now, just take 5 milliliters from each. Precisely. And the next.
Okay, spise mere.
Five more. We put the prepared sample into the machine. Let's see what we have here. The results indicate that the deceased did consume alcohol shortly before her death. However, it was not an amount that could cause poisoning leading to death, just slight inebriation. I can return to the body and continue the rest of the examination. The chromatograph results show that we can eliminate alcohol poisoning from our list of potential causes of death. However, remember that alcohol can affect the functioning of the entire body. It disturbs the heart rhythm, accelerating its rate, and dilutes the blood, which may result in more severe bleeding in the event of an accident. Also remember that alcohol affects the metabolism of drugs in the liver, which I'll now look at in more detail. First, I'll pick up the syringe again. I'll take samples from the liver and the heart to test the concentration of barbiturates in the body. That's enough. I'll do the test later. I'd best not try my luck with the centrifuge right now. Now I remove the liver. No lesions. However, it is slightly enlarged. Perhaps it's a slight inflammation or drug-induced damage. It may also be the result of the deposition of substances from drugs. Let's check the weight of the organ.
Was wiege die Leber? Achso.
The weight is 1,300 grams. The liver is enlarged. I'll move on to a cross-sectional study. Perhaps the enlargement is the result of early cancerous changes. The blade glides through smoothly. I don't feel like I'm encountering any changes with an unusual structure. No steatosis or cirrhosis. The liver is actually quite clean inside. The liver is basically healthy. We already know that the deceased didn't abuse alcohol. The question is, what about drugs or other substances? I move on to the heart. Oh. At a glance, we can see signs of a heart attack. The deceased is definitely too young to have a heart attack due to natural causes. The liver is enlarged, not from alcohol poisoning, and the heart looks like it is collapsed. So, I guess we need to go to the centrifuge and check for these barbiturates.
Ich jetzt einmal gerissen. In dem Spiel. Bis
The
jetzt.
last time I saw this kind of poisoning was a few years ago. I better check the data in my notebook. He was a middle-aged guy. He took his medication and forgot about it. So, he took another pill. He forgot again, and took another one. And another one. All right.
Ich sehe immer dasselbe eigentlich. Hallo? Konnte ich nichts machen? Hä? Bewerten des Spiels bitte Daumen hoch. Für gut. Bitteschön. Jetzt habe ich, glaube ich, einen Bug, oder? Stell die richtigen Werte und beiden Regeln an und beginne mit dem.
A considerable collection.
Bist du in der Früh daheim?
Ja,
Weil die Ablesung kommt.
ja,
Ich weiß nicht, ob ich da schon trainieren bin, deswegen.
ja. Okay. Speed 70%, Time 15. Pipette 5 ml. Alkohol 6 bis 12. Was war ich falsch? Ja. Jetzt hat's mich gerissen, was war das? Geil, mir wird nichts angezeigt. Sag mal danke, wer auch immer das gerade war. Er ist gerade erschrocken. Was mache ich falsch? $15,70. sicher ein anderer, aber ich komme nicht drauf. Wieder mal. Ich brauche die. Ich brauche die Lösung. Was war das? Ich hab dort auch 15 Minuten gemacht. Hä? Ich komme auf das wieder nicht. Zehn Minuten. Da steht's.
We close the centrifuge and pray that it doesn't trip anything again. It looks like our luck is in.
Hallo?
We can take the samples to the lab now. I wonder how she was able to get hold of these drugs. Okay, 2 samples this time. 6 milliliters each.
So.
Well, let's see how much of it we find. Nothing surprising. Significant amounts of phenobarbital metabolites of hepatic origin. Looks like I'll have to check the contents of the deceased's stomach. The tests show that the collected blood contained enough barbiturates to cause cardiopulmonary collapse. The question now is whether it was an accident or a deliberate act. I'm proceeding to examine the stomach. Before extraction, I ligate the entire organ to prevent its contents from spilling out. Okay, I'm now cutting out the organ, which will move to the board for dissection. Normally, the stomach and intestines are full of surprises. This time, we see remnants of undigested food and a dense mass of pills. You don't take this many drugs by accident. Length and width normal. No obvious pathological changes. Undigested drugs found in the stomach of the deceased. The direct cause of death was probably an overdose. I'll check the rest of the organs. Lungs are normal, no lesions. The victim was probably a smoker. The deceased's trachea is normal. Complete patency. The deceased's intestine is normal. No clear pathological changes. Abdominal cavity checked off. We can check the brain.
Jawohl, Schädel aufschneiden.
I make a cut to open the lid of the victim's skull and remove the brain.
Das Geräusch, Alter.
Brain is normal. No obvious lesions. Alright. I need to dissect it on a board. Using a knife, I carefully cut through the brain tissue. I peek inside a bit, and... I don't think there's anything worth noting.
Oh.
As expected, the deceased's brain is in excellent condition. No discoloration or changes due to hypoxia. There is still the matter of the marks on the neck. They look superficial, but who knows? Maybe the spinal cord has been severed. I need goggles and a saber saw. I think the goggles were in the desk drawer. Oh, they're out there. Alice. Saw. I need saw. Fuck. I don't see it here. Oh. I know. I
Das ist der,
probably
was
left it in
vorne
the
war,
basement
glaube ich.
after its last cleaning.
Oh.
Mr. Ridley, I need a key to the basement.
It's in the social room.
Why is the key lying at the... never mind. Thank you.
Hey, Hammond. Did you hear about the
If only he could put that much enthusiasm into his work. I get the feeling that searching through this rubbish is... please, may this be the last trip.
Angekommen. Lecker essen. Scheiße, ich habe mir gedacht, ich kann noch irgendwas machen. Wo ist denn der Keller? Ist da irgendwo noch weiter? Nee. Da auch nicht. Wahrscheinlich da.
Fuck. Why did the prison convoy have to get into an accident?
Hey,
Jack, take a deep breath.
bin ich dumm?
Deep, pleasantly cool breath. You're nearly finished with the
Da
autopsy.
ist eine Toilette.
Then you can go home and rest.
Da ist ein Büro. Gibt's da eine Tür? Nee. Da gibt's auch keine Tür. Hä? Wo geht's in den Keller? Muss ich außen rumgehen? Also ich sehe ja nichts. Das kann nicht mal schnell gehen. Alter. Ich glaub da, oder? Ja, da. Gefunden.
I'll take the saw.
mag keinen Keller.
Fuck! It's jammed! Doesn't anyone do maintenance around here? Damn hatch. Damn red Pete. Again, if only.
Ah, das Sound war laut. Gott, Alter.
It would be easier if I put things away properly. Ugh, damn student lectures and their fucking props.
Warum ist der Kellereingang überhaupt außen? So dumm.
And like clockwork, he's already sleeping. Sorry for the short interruption. I hope you all took the opportunity to grab some coffee. And now that I have everything I need, I'll move on to reviewing the spinal cord.
What the fuck?
The spine is removed. I can see that the spinal cord was not severed. This shows that apart from the marks around the neck, hanging didn't negatively affect the condition of the deceased. Ladies and gentlemen, almost over. Now, to sum up and tidy away the body. The direct cause of Samantha Barker's death was a heart attack resulting from an overdose of barbiturates. Traces found on the body suggest that the overdose was a deliberate act, following a failed attempt to hang herself. The autopsy found no evidence or genetic materials indicating that death could have been the result of an attack. Third-party involvement must be excluded. Autograph, and we can start sewing. In the 1950s and 1960s, the use of barbiturates for suicide was actually quite common. I think it was most talked about after the death of Marilyn Monroe.
Hopp.
At home, it was a help and comfort. On
Hopp,
death
falsch.
row, a farewell to the convicts. Well, we're done for today. Thank you for your attention. Tiring day. I can feel those hunger pains coming on. I guess I'll have to pick something up along the way. Gloves in the trash, leave the apron for cleaning. Now I can go. A nightcap will do me good. Good night, Mr. Ridley. The police will pick up the body and accompanying documentation in the morning.
Falsch, da geht's raus.
Sure.
I guess there are actually two things in this world you can be certain of. Death and Ridley's reluctant attitude. Alright, maybe three things. My whiskey on the rocks when I get home. So cold. I guess I should have brought my jacket to work. This block can be quite intimidating when it's so quiet. Almost there. Stephen didn't want to go out for a drink tonight, so I'll drink my whiskey in the company of my TV. Shit. I forgot the muffin. Well, Ridley will have a nice treat. She will be his happy, thankful self tomorrow.
Ich weiß gar nicht, welchen Stock wir haben. Ah, wurscht. Wir fahren einfach 3.
What? What? What the fuck? But I locked it. I'm sure of it.
Okay. Wie geil.
Who the fuck did this? I don't have anything valuable. Oh, God. Oh, God. What am I supposed to do now? Fuck! Great. That's all I need. What if it was Red Pete? I wasn't able to support her through this. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck. These were from Thanksgiving. Stephen invited me. I was going to give them to his mother, but then I met Alice. That was the first time I saw her. Where? I need my pills. I can't get my thoughts together. Okay. I'm gonna have to report this to the police. Christ. Why did the neighbors not report anything? I'm calling Stephen. Stephen?
Now, Jack, I told you I'm going for a drink with you for another night in a row.
That's not why I'm ringing. Although I could do with one. Someone broke into my apartment.
What? Did anyone see anything? Have you called the police yet?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, no one contacted me. As for the police, I'm calling right now, officer.
All right. Do you want me to head round? Look for any trace evidence?
I don't know. No, I guess not. Honestly, I don't have the strength to deal with it right now. I just want to lie down.
Are you sure? Because it's no trouble at all.
I think so. I'm sorry. I just wanted to calm down a bit. I don't know. That's probably some stupid joke. Only money was stolen.
Money? From Alice's box? Oh, fuck. Listen, I can come over. I have the key. I'll drop by, do what I need to do, and you go get some sleep.
No, don't trouble yourself. Lately, I've been just so tired and distracted. I don't know. Maybe I forgot to close the apartment door on my way to work. If anything else is missing, I'll let you know and call the police.
All right. Just make sure you close it tonight. If you see anything weird tomorrow, let me know. Whoever did this may be watching you.
I don't think anyone is dumb enough to come back.
You're probably right. Take care, Jack. If you need anything, call me.
I promise I will. Thanks, Stephen. Sorry to bother you again. I've just been all over the place lately.
It's not a problem. Good night, Jack.
Good night.
Huh?
What? I guess I should clean this shit up. Where to start? Shit. The glass in this thing needs to be replaced.
Jack, why?
I think I'm just tired.
Så kommer vi till rummet över då. Oj då.
To be honest, I could leave it like this. There you go. I still don't understand why Alice liked this painting so much. Maybe I could barricade the door with this. I should pack this thing away. I have no interest in DIY at the moment. Now I'm sure I won't get caught up in these papers. Alice's family should really have some of these. That's enough for now.
Har jag några ting avkommen?
Oh yeah, I should take my pills. feel like it takes me forever to finish these things. That's enough. It will never look clean. I need to quickly change and finish getting ready. I'm gonna be late for work again. Got my keys, got my files. Check. Time to go. Remember to close the door properly, Jack. I'll ask the neighbors tomorrow if they saw anything suspicious. I wonder if Ridley fixed the coffee machine. Huh?
Hä, wo bin ich jetzt schon wieder? Hä, ich bin einen Stockwerk raufgegangen. Hä?
Maybe a bit optimistic. I'd better grab a coffee on the way. I'm exhausted.
Oh, leck.
I wonder who Stephen brought in today. Good morning, Mr. Ridley. No, he's not here yet? No, I'll do without him. I hope he... Oh, come on. He was too lazy to even wheel the gurney to the autopsy room.
Was war das für ein Lachen?
Almost there. Now for the tough part. The body needs to be moved. Where's Ridley when you need him? Alright. I just need some gloves and my apron. Then I can get to work. I'm going to need my tape recorder for this. Autopsy dated November 22nd, 1991. 7:32 p.m. Led by Doc. I begin by verifying the identity of the Jane Doe. It's most likely Harper Lloyd, age 35. Found in a well-owned house by her neighbors Leonard and Dorothy Chelsea. Reported missing for a week.
Hallo? Kann nichts machen?
Firefighters found the body after the Chelsea family began complaining that their tap water tasted strange, and at one point had begun to smell and turn a dark color. Police records also show that Mrs. Lloyd was in constant conflict with her neighbors. The constant parties and subsequent brawls made living in the area nearly impossible, especially when Lloyd's partner wasn't around. The last person who had contact with the deceased was her partner. Harper's last message read as follows. I'm gonna take a shit in their stupid well. Then we'll see who has the last laugh. It is also known that the deceased was diagnosed with affective bipolar disorder. The most important task in forensic identification of a drowned person is to distinguish whether the death occurred before or after entering the water. Okay, that could have been worse. I carefully removed the victim's clothes so as not to one shoe. The deceased was found fully clothed. I'm going to need the camera to document all possible suspicious marks. Definitely the first thing that stands out is the very advanced post-mortem gigantism. The skin of the deceased appears very delicate, smooth, and relaxed from being in the water for a long time. The whole body is extremely pale. Post-mortem markings are seen on the underside of the body, that is, on the back, thighs, and calves of the deceased. It's likely that the deceased was lying on her back when she was fished out. The so-called washerwoman's skin on the feet. The deceased had indeed been in the water for a long time. The skin on the hands can be easily separated from the body. The separation takes the form of a glove. There are some obvious scratches on the skin. There are bruises and hemorrhages on the neck. These usually occur due to increased inhalation when fighting to breathe underwater. So, after the preliminary exam, it's time to take a closer look at this. Today's date, the deceased was clothed. Rigor mortis does not need to be checked. Based on the state of decay, you can be sure it has subsided. The spots have a purplish blue-red hue, which is a typical sign of the death of the organism. We see thick white foam in the mouth of the deceased, resulting from pulmonary edema. Foam is a characteristic in deaths due to drowning. There are obvious scratches on the skin, especially on the back and hands. These could be defensive wounds, evidence of some sort of altercation prior to death. No obvious signs of struggle. The skin on the hands would have easily peeled away from the flesh. Some of the fingers have already lost their nails. Yep, pretty typical. Livor mortis are formed as a result of putrefaction of blood in the veins. Due to the fact that the deceased was wearing shoes all the time, her feet are in better condition than her hands. Nevertheless, we can still notice a clear, wavy skin and the so-called washerwoman's skin texture. Okay, that's probably enough to indicate a direction for further examination. I'd better note that down in the records. Marks found on the neck and foaming at the mouth are typical signs of drowning people. Those abrasions appear relatively fresh. No healing or scarring is visible. Hands heavily wrinkled from submersion in water. Typical washerwoman's skin. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual about this livor mortis. Diffuse spots are caused by blood rotting in the veins. Considering the deceased's penchant for drinking alcohol, it could have been a mere accident. In this case, the question is, was drowning an accident or of suicidal intent? Maybe it's just abrasion, or maybe the result of a fight and being... Fortunately, the skin on the hands didn't fall off. Otherwise, I'd have trouble identifying the deceased. Their distribution suggests that the victim was probably lying on her back when fished out of the water. Livor mortis of a different color could indicate poisoning with carbon monoxide, cyanides, or nitrates. A simple trip, loss of balance, and as a result, you end. Before I begin the dissection, I'll make sure the suggested identity is correct. The suitcase with the fingerprint equipment should be around here somewhere. Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass.
Achso, da drüben.
Oh, here it is. With decomposing bodies, the tissue of the pads of the fingers tends to shrink. The fingerprint sheet should always be checked. Slipping finger, if the body of the deceased is well preserved. Fingerprinting is similar to that of a living person. I'm going to conduct a dactyloscopic examination. If in fact the deceased is in the police database, I will find her. Glycerin is injected successively between the nail and the skin of each finger. The substance then enters the fingertip, removing shrinkage and wrinkles.
Alter.
Now I take a brush. Only when the skin is taut and elastic can you use ink. I think it's enough. In the case of drowning victims, you have to be extremely careful. The skin may fall off the hand like a glove when you take the print. I'll use the fax machine to add the print into the system. Green button and... Once the data uploads, I'll run the prints against the police database on the computer. Great. The data is there. Click Upload. Now, go through the database and find a matching print. Expect possible hours of fun. One more. Analyze button. And we have a result. Everyone has a story to tell, even if it's just a police record. So, as predicted, the deceased turned out to be Harper Lloyd. That went smoothly. I'll print this out and attach it to the medical records. Great. Now I can go back to my inspection. I'm adding the name of the deceased. I'll start the internal examination by taking fluid from the victim's brain. A needle inserted through the nose will do the trick.
Okay.
If the victim was alive when she fell into the well, she must have swallowed water fighting for her life. And then diatoms, characteristics of pooled water like a well, got into the... In the meantime, I'll check the sample under the microscope. I'm sure that these algae traces will be found in the samples taken from the well where police found the body.
War's nicht hier? Hey. Achso. Da haben wir auch eins.
Oh, Jesus.
Was ist passiert?
Now I need to adjust the knobs properly and place the diatom in the center of the slide. Oh, the aperture still needs adjustment. The image is too dark. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. And it's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. As expected, we find the aforementioned algae in the solution. Their upper part, epitheca, which overlaps the lower, hypotheca, is clearly visible. The presence of diatoms in the brain samples taken indicate that the deceased was certainly alive when she fell into the water and was possibly conscious. Since there were diatoms in the brain, it means that many more of them must have entered the body. Studies of the rest of the organs will most likely confirm this hypothesis. I can finally get to the practical part.
So,
I must be extra careful because the skin of the deceased is very stretched. I wouldn't want an explosion here.
hä, noch nicht komplett aufgeschnitten.
You can immediately see a very large swelling of the organs. In addition, all internal organs are it's easy to see that the ribs have been imprinted in the lungs. So, I'm going to start. If diatoms were only present in the lungs, this would mean that the victim was placed in the well after death, and the perpetrator wanted to get rid of the corpse in this way. Now, I remove the lung. Taking the lungs in my hand, I feel that the tissues have lost their elasticity, which is the result of water emphysema. In addition, there is significant swelling of the organs, and as a result, we have a nice imprint of the ribs. The emphysema itself, it's clear how far it's progressed, which is characteristic of drowning. Corpses found in water are worth examining with a tomograph. However, I can't count on such luxuries, so I must reach for a more archaic technology. A bucket and water.
Da blinkt schon wieder das Licht. Da war wer.
Who has anyone been here? I hope no one dipped a mop in it. It's best to go to the lab for this.
Hä? So wie ein Eimer?
Huh?
Boah. Ich hab zugerissen. Gehen wir wieder raus.
Historically, the lung float test is used to detect infanticide. The water should be at room temperature.
Boah.
That's enough. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water. This checks if there is air in the lungs. And speaking of lungs, everything is ready to bring them here. Of course, such a study isn't without flaws. Air may have entered a newborn's airways during resuscitation attempts. Gases released during decomposition. In this case, however, it's about something else. Namely, the amount of fluid in the lungs. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water and wait to see if they fall or if they will float on the surface. Just as I assumed, the lungs collapsed easily. Fluid could have entered the lungs during panic attempts to catch breath underwater, but it could also be the result of bacterial infections or cancer, so further investigation is needed. I move on to dissecting the lungs of the deceased. You can hear the distinct, very unpleasant crackling of the tissues being cut through. The parenchyma is remarkably pale, although small hemorrhagic foci and petechia are present on the surface. All right. Now, I will check the collected fluid under a microscope. If we find 20 diatoms on the slide, it can be considered drowning, and the aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. And perfect. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. As expected. In solution, the diatoms are clearly visible. There are smaller and larger clusters of them. There will definitely be more than 20 of them. I'll make a note of all this. So far, this case looks pretty standard. It's clear from the beginning that it's drowning. Well, the procedure requires me to check everything anyway. So, I move on to checking the other organs. I ligate the heart, and then remove it for inspection. Strongly developed putrefactic hemolysis of the organ can be seen at first glance. Apart from that, no signs of a heart attack or other heart disease. I move on to the next organ. This time, it's the liver. It's immediately apparent that the deceased didn't care for herself. The beginnings of cirrhosis are visible in some areas. I transfer the organ to a board and proceed to dissect.
So. Leber. Ui. Nein. Scheiße. Ja.
The cross-section clearly shows dilated veins and many small hemorrhagic foci. I must admit that this is quite a feat, considering the rather young age of the deceased. Harper enjoyed drinking so much that she might not have lasted a few more years. I move on to the stomach. I take a sample of the fluid for testing. It looks very turbid. I'll see what happens after spinning, but that's in a moment. Now, I carefully ligate the organ, then cut it off. It's enlarged, probably full of putrid gases. I transfer it to the board and carefully open it, checking the contents.
Achtjährige Makrele.
One thing you'd never get used to is how much this desk smells.
Ui.
Okay, the stomach is full of fluid and unidentified organic matter, so let's check the diatoms. Again, but in a centrifuge for a change. The problem with examining drowned people is being able to show whether the death was due to drowning or whether something else contributed to the death. Cramp, heart attack, drugs, homicide, or some accident. Such an analysis requires viewing from different angles and a careful interpretation of the collected data, including those from the field. That's why it's so important to collect as many samples as possible. Unfortunately. Okay, this is one last little sample. Now, set.
Okay, dann müssen wir wieder was anderes nutzen. 25%. Ui, 35 Minuten.
Done. I'll run it directly into the chromatograph and run it against the data from the police. I'm certain the analysis will show similarities between the fluid and water in chests as well.
Ich würde sagen, wir machen noch Chapter 2 und Chapter 3 machen wir nächstes Mal weiter.
Let me think. 3 milliliters should be fine. Okay, now it's the chromatograph's turn. Yes. The water sample matches the one provided by the police. Well, the results are quite clear. I was hoping it would be a more interesting case. More diatoms. Analysis indicates the same origin. Blah, blah, blah. There's little left to do. I'm going to check the airway. Interesting. Looks like there's something stuck in the trachea. I'm moving to the board for further inspection. I dissect the trachea and open the organ. Inside, I find a wedding ring. This is interesting. Let me look at it. Based on the size, I can say that it's a woman's wedding ring. Quite standard from the outside. There's an engraving inside. What the fuck? But this is my ring. Alice's ring. But how did it, but this should be at home. I have it. At home. It's, I have to check this out. Where are my meds? Where the fuck are my meds? Jesus Christ. Hope these all make it go away. I have to check the apartment. It can't be. Jesus Christ. Mr. Ridley. Mr. Ridley!
What's all the ruckus?
I need to go home. Immediately.
What? Now?
I have to. Have you seen anyone here this morning? Anybody suspicious?
Oh, there was no one. Dorothy was, but only for a moment, then she left. What's wrong with you, Hammond?
Okay. Thanks.
What about the corpse?
I'll come back, I promise. Jesus Christ! I have to check this out.
Ich sehe noch nichts.
This can't be real. Where is it? Where is it? Where? It's not here. It's not. I need to go. This is sick. Fuck. Come on, Steven. Pick up the fucking phone.
Hey. What's up, man?
They took the ring.
What? What ring? What are you talking about?
They took the wedding ring. Alice's wedding ring.
One sec. You mean burglary? You said nothing was missing.
Yes, I know that. I don't know. I was jittery. Maybe I didn't notice. I don't know, but that's not the worst of it.
Calm down, Jack. Breathe. What happened?
I found it in the trachea of the deceased I was working on. Do you understand? I pulled it out of a dead woman's trachea.
What?
I don't know what's going on. You think Red Pete wants revenge? He's playing with me. Huh? I knew it. I knew it from the beginning this was going to happen. I didn't make it up!
Jack, listen to me. Try to calm down. Don't leave the apartment. I'll be with you right away, okay? I'm on my way.
What sane person would do something like that? How? And when? When the fuck? Fucking Ridley lets in whoever he likes as usual. What are you saying? Steven? Don't leave me, man. Come on. Fuck. Oh, God, what now? Okay, just calm down. Just calm down. I need Jesus. What's going on?
Und wie kommt die Sound später?
Just one sip more. Yep. Jesus. Just one sip more. Okay.
Kapitel 2 zu Ende.